You are listening to the Push Media Podcast Network.
This is good shit.
I know I laced it with blood.
Homeboy, I came to party, but your girl was looking at me. She a haggler. No, I'm not tagging her, but you don't want them boys to come over and start asking her, what you wanna do? What you trying to do? And what I did there, obviously being a perfectly executed impression of Christopher Walken, if he was the co-host of the Drinking Champs podcast with Noriega. Homeboy. Now that was a joke, that was a bit, that was a piece, probably not worth the payoff. The risk-reward was probably not strong there for me. I'm sure most of you, definitely at least more than half, are thinking, what did any of that mean? Perfect. Because that's really the only way to take in this program. In order to experience this program in the way it was meant to be experienced by the artist, in its purest form, you mentally have to be calibrated towards absolute disorienting confusion. And someone who has embodied the ethos of that very same viciously aggressive, disorienting attack on reality just because it's fun is, of course, our king, our chancellor, our congressman from the great city, state, whatever you would call the segregated fiefdom that is Long Island, that has the likes of 50 Cent and former mobsters who call themselves Fat Tony. I'm, of course, referring to the great George Santos. George Santos has been someone we've discussed here at the program the last several episodes because, for some reason, a reason the rest of the world and every media news outlet is not seeing, is the greatest story happening in America right now. This is a man, just briefly to recap, who has said, and I quote, "I never said I was Jewish, I'm Jew-ish." He has claimed to attend Ivy League colleges. He has not. Claimed to have worked at Merrill Lynch and Citibank. He has not. Claimed that his grandparents have survived the Holocaust, when in reality, the reason they survived it is because they just weren't in the country when it was going on. By that logic, I survived the Holocaust as well. Take that, Whoopi Goldberg. Moving on, he's also written fake checks while living in Brazil, in Rio de Janeiro. This is all still true, because he wanted to purchase a tchotchke, I'm assuming a carved wooden butt plug from an open-air bazaar where cruise ships dock. The latest entry into the unbelievable background and life and times of George Santos is that while living in Rio de Janeiro, he was also a drag performer named Katara. Now, of course, his job being a congressman from the state of New York. This man, I mean, where do I even begin? I have spent a lot of time, I've spent a lot of hours over the last few weeks trying to understand, trying to comprehend who is George Santos. How can one person be this good at making things up? I mean, I'm someone who likes to think I'm pretty good at making things up off the cuff and passing it off as news and information. But I mean, this guy? Oh my God, think of the autobiography. Has another more storied and diverse background, well-traveled American exist ever? Has there been genuinely, based on the background so far, a more noteworthy and interesting American who has ever lived? Worthy of a biography? I'm asking that truly. I mean, Abraham Lincoln, what did he do? Show some self-restraint, habeas corpus reinstated? Who gives a shit? Because George Santos is an American who very well may have at one point in time written a letter to his grandmother, who he obviously made up survived the Holocaust, saying something like, "Grandma, hope all is well. I am living in Rio de Janeiro performing as a woman named Katara. I am thinking of moving to New York soon to pretend to go to an Ivy League school because I will eventually be a congressman." Bye-bye for now. That could have happened. That could very well be a letter at some point we find out is actually one of the classified documents in George Santos's house 30 years from now after he served 3 terms as president. And obviously, once you're done being president, you steal classified documents. That's just part of the role now. If you were a president, or if you still are a president, or really just feel like you're entitled to them, you can take classified documents. That's just now the status quo. And before anyone has an opinion like, hey, what Biden did isn't actually as bad or as egregious as what Trump did, or see what they're doing, see what Biden did, it's the same thing as Trump, they're scapegoating. Fuck all those opinions, because I just want to share mine first, because it's the only one I value. You know, and honestly, your opinion should be the one you value the most too. Don't feel turned off by my condescending tone. Instead, feel empowered to be arrogant yourself. That's the message. So, Biden has been taking classified documents. Really no other way to put that. And it doesn't look great when we already have a son of Biden, that is, with a laptop full of obviously what should be classified documents that he's been a little sloppy with too. Doesn't bode well. The Biden family doesn't seem to be good at keeping track of things, like diaries. I'm just saying, FBI. But anyway, so the Biden thing, at first, I thought, obviously, the most likely thing. I thought what Biden did with ever classified documents being in the wrong place probably wasn't as bad as what Trump did. It probably wasn't as aggressively boneheaded and brash as what Trump did. I mean, 13 boxes come out that didn't go in. That's a lot of boxes. But then there's story after story of more boxes of classified shit popping up at the Biden residence, the Biden library, anywhere that is his, basically. Any place that is his, oh, look, another box. Can you believe we found another one? It's like a fucking Easter egg hunt. Everyone's just like tickled when they discover a classified document hidden somewhere on a Biden property. And I'm not necessarily saying, hey, they're doing the same, they're scapegoating Trump. I'm not saying that either. Because what I first thought when these stories came out was the obvious thing, which I'm sure most people thought. Biden probably isn't as guilty here because it is very easy to misplace or forget where you keep things when you're dead, when you're literally a dead person, when the life has, left your body. It's easy to forget where you've put things like classified documents if you are already dead. That was what I thought at first, like many other Americans who voted for him, for the cadaver. Now, there was more and more stories of like, here's another box, we found another Easter egg, can you believe it? Where's the diary? Where's the laptop? Shouldn't all that shit been classified? But anyway, it's looking like you have to admit that Biden probably is dirty too. Congratulations. And the contentious debate between what seems to be the story that all the media or people are just making of the news that Biden has also taken classified documents to the wrong place. What the emerging story around it all seems to be is like whether or not this is better or worse than what Trump did, which again, to remind everyone, is also bad. And I think it is a very dangerous thing to start doing, to start comparing like, okay, this guy is someone who we can vote for president because the classified documents he stole weren't that classified, weren't that germane to what was going on. You know what I mean? Trump, on the other hand, you see, he stole classified documents, but his were about his proposals, true, by the way, of like, how about we just blow up North Korea and blame a different country? This is not a good precedent to start setting. We can't start comparing apples to apples, classified document theft to classified document theft. That shouldn't be the basis for who's good and who's bad. You shouldn't be stealing classified documents, first thought. Now, secondly, I just don't really believe in the system much anymore. And I know I like to quote the system. I know I'm supposed to say like you're supposed to believe in the system because it only works if you believe it. Obviously, that's true. That's the slogan here. But it's just like, man, we had probably one of the most up and down, really topsy-turvy presidents of all time. Not saying good or bad with Trump, but just really a goddamn eventful one. We'll say it that way. And then when you think that's over and that goes out with literally a bang and a potential insurrection, you think maybe we'll elect the guy who's probably already dead. Everything will be calm. He gets in and he's stealing boxes of classified shit. His son has a laptop full of God knows fucking what. And by the way, Hunter Biden, the president's son, is currently involved with a judge in the state of Delaware, which is the most corrupt state in the goddamn country, because a woman who used to be a dancer, shall we say, who also, shall we say, is the mother of, how shall we say, his child, is suing to have her daughter's name, legally, her last name, be Biden, because she is, of course, the literal, legal, biological daughter of Hunter Biden. Now, what Hunter Biden is doing, son of president, that is, the son of the good president, is currently petitioning a Delaware judge to block this woman from having her daughter's last name changed to Biden, because that just wouldn't look great. And the state of Delaware is going along with it because they said, hey, you got money? We don't have taxes. Gimme, gimme. This is not great. This is not good. This is not proper behavior. So it's disheartening. You lose a little faith. Because the FBI is also completely in on it too. They seem to be the goons, and that's the other thing. Like everyone was like championing the FBI during the insurrection stuff because, like, hey, look at everything getting so crazy because all these MAGA people are down here being crazy. Thank goodness the heroes of the FBI are here to nip that in the bud and keep us all safe. When in reality, what that actually meant was literally start the riots. So now it's like the fucking goons of the FBI are getting sloppy at their job. And that's just kind of making me a little sad because at least hide it better. We just celebrated Martin Luther King Day. Back then, the FBI literally killed people. I'm not going to say who, but you could maybe connect those dots. And the fact I didn't even really want to directly say the FBI killed Martin Luther King, the fact I didn't want to say that, is proof to just how good they used to be at their job. They used to be ruthlessly efficient. Now they're so goddamn sloppy, their own informants are getting called in to testify at the insurrection trials they caused. It's disheartening. The FBI has clearly proven themselves to be the goons of whatever criminal is president currently. The FBI, for some reason, they're supposed to stop, domestic terrorism and things like that, several months ago, raided the office of a website because there was a rumor of a diary one of the Biden members wrote that might have some damning things inside of it. Obviously, according to the White House, that is not true. That's a rumor. No such diary exists. But we do need to use a lot of our resources, and by that we mean the full weight and might of the FBI. We need to send them, our goons, to go investigate this diary that doesn't exist at a location that we think it might be, even though it's not real, just in case it might be there, even though we know it's literally not real. And we're just supposed to accept that. No, or even worse, no one even makes that point. The official story is this diary's not real. However, the FBI literally raided the place everyone thought it was. And no one even says, hey, why would you do that then? That's not a political question. You're not politicizing something to say, hey, why would you do that then? That's a logical question. You're allowed to ask that part. I have questions because it looks like you're just super dumb. The latest dumb thing out of the FBI is that of all of the informants that they have planted in the Proud Boys that led up to the insurrection on January 6th, the trials are now going on. And one of the key things to be revealed so far is that one of the FBI agents who was acting as an informant in the Proud Boys sent a text message saying, we did not do this. It was crowds. It got out of control. This was not us. And of course, the question being, who does he mean by us? Because he could be referring to the Proud Boys, the us, the larger group that he was in at that time, or based on the fact he was sending a surreptitious text message during a riot to one of the other 9 out of hundreds of people there saying, this is not us, and the similarity he shares with these other 9 people are that they all have been called to court later. It's probably likely the us is the FBI. So that's just sloppy, man. I mean, really? The FBI is going to get caught doing some dumb, corrupt shit over a lazy text message that they couldn't get deleted? That they couldn't figure out how to get that text message off of the face of the earth before a trial for them potentially instigating an insurrection? The idea they couldn't simply accomplish that task is disheartening. I mean, again, this is coming from an organization that used to be ruthlessly efficient, and we just celebrated Martin Luther King Day. Now they're getting caught because they forgot to delete their text messages. These are the people, these are the goons, the enforcers of whoever is currently president. If the current president or his family has any type of issue, kind of like a Ray Donovan problem that would just, not look great for the family, like a laptop full of literally the most heinous acts a person could commit. If something like that happens, all they have to do is send in the crack squad of geniuses that is the FBI and just hope that they'll clean up the mess, that they'll shut down the power plant, that they'll actually instigate riots in the World Trade Center in '92. The one that Biggie talked about, not the other one. The FBI is corrupt as shit, and I'm not okay with it, but I could tolerate it when I didn't know about it. When you're going to be that corrupt, and it's going to be this obvious that the president is still going to be this stupid, doesn't matter if it's not Trump, he's still going to steal shit and just forget where he put it. It's just sad. You're looking at decay. At least if the government is organized crime, we all know that's how it works. But it works best when we are not painfully aware of that fact. And in order for us to not be painfully aware of the fact that we are the victims of extortion that we vote on, essentially, it needs to run a little better than this. It shouldn't look like whoever is the dumbest criminal who happens to be president has complete authority to send in his personal crack squad of geniuses, that of course being the dummies that make up the FBI, to go solve whatever problem may happen. Go shut down a power plant for some reason. Go start an insurrection just to make our opponent look worse. Anything. And again, these people used to really accomplish the task, if you know what I'm saying. To have it descend to they're getting caught being dumb because they forget to delete text messages, and that shows up in court. The FBI can't manage to get rid of its own evidence in court in a trial happening in Washington, D.C. There, literally, already. Of the people who are apparently so talented that the FBI needs them because they're so good at chameleoning their way into groups and infiltrating, these are the people that used to infiltrate the Black Panther Party and almost kidnap Ronald Reagan. It got very close. And now they're, people who have beards. They're white guys who can pass off as, Hispanic in a pinch, Middle Eastern if you give them a month to grow it out. That's it. They're just fucking white guys who could look like some other version of not exactly a black person. That's what the FBI now has as agents and informants. And those people are too dumb to delete their own text messages where they are recording all of the crimes they are doing. On behalf of us, mind you. Very disheartening to see that. That's actually how I feel with Biden and stealing classified shit. I know Biden's not clean. I am not surprised by the fact he might be doing some things that are not exactly how they should be done. He has been someone who hasn't been against apartheid in the past, and because his political career is so long, it's 40, 50 years old. I mean, he's attended the funeral of former Exalted Cyclops. Look that up. I still have George Santos on my mind. Joe Biden has literally attended the funeral of a former Exalted Cyclops, which is a very difficult position to get in the KKK. It's kind of like an Eagle Scout. It's not something easy that you just get for showing up once a week for a couple years and then you get the title. No. If you're going to be an Exalted Cyclops or an Eagle Scout, you got to learn how to tie a knot or sell popcorn door to door. I don't know. It's just kind of sad. I don't mind knowing I am under the thumb, I am being extorted by a government that is ruthlessly efficient, calculated, and just better at this than me. I don't mind that. I can tolerate that. I can accept the deal if it is framed as that. What I don't like, what I have a harder time swallowing, is that I am under the thumb, I am being extorted by the government made up of people this fucking dumb. It's insulting. It's truly, on a base level, morality aside, it's just objectively insulting to me that people are in charge who are this stupid. Just this, the qualification for being in charge of me, I think is kind of high. And I think that's another thing that you also should think about yourself. Don't be put off by the tone of the thought. Use that thought as your own to feel better about yourself and superior to others. This is America. There used to be a time when we thought the president, no matter who it was, if you liked him or if you didn't like him, he was objectively much more powerful than you. He probably just knew better based on the fact he was that guy and you were this guy. Now, I am so confident I would be doing a better job, to be honest with you. And that's probably a bit melodramatic. I'm sure I'm being slightly hyperbolic when I think I'm more qualified to be president than Joseph Biden, than Joseph Robinette, than Joseph Hard R. Biden. It's probably ridiculous of me to think I'm better at him than the job, but I really am starting to think I would be better than him at the job. I mean, I don't think I would forget where all of the classified documents I've come in contact with over the last 16 years are. I don't think I would at least do that. And some of the classified documents that are being being found date back to when he was vice president. So this is like, it's not like he forgot to return a library book or something. This has been 8 years, okay? He was vice president. There was a different whole other president, and then he was president. And during all of that time, he forgot about the classified documents that probably had information at some point during those 8 years advantageous to have. And I find this very insulting and generally stupid. If you are going to take control of a large group of people, of a nation, I want you to be good at it. I want you to at least make me think, well, I couldn't do that. And that is not the feeling I have had related to whoever's been president lately, which is crazy. I mean, take the Ukraine, for example, where Volodymyr Zelensky has quietly, tastefully, with ease, with such an appreciation for craft, he has just gotten rid of any media outlet that would disagree with him. He has completely reshaped the media landscape to be government controlled in the Ukraine. He has literally taken control of the press. And this is a guy who is beloved in America, for better or worse. But I am saying this, he does get his hair cut once a week and his barber travels with him during wartime. So maybe that should shape your opinion on the man. I'm just saying, that's a guy I can respect because that's a guy who will be a dictator, make no mistake, in a very short time. Unless he dies in one of these bombs that someone forgot they left, probably was Biden, or his son, because he also does shady shit in the Ukraine. Unless Zelensky just dies in a car bomb someone forgot they placed in a car, I feel like Zelensky's going to be the dictator of the Ukraine soon. And I keep hearing, according to my well-placed sources inside the Kremlin, which is, of course, Putin's mom, I couldn't resist. Putin ain't well. He's kind of sick. His time might be ticking. And even if he's not sick, he's also in his 70s and lives in Russia. He's already on borrowed time. He should have been dead years ago. Which means if Ukraine can just keep sticking it out, not necessarily winning, but not losing, which might be possible since all we want to do is give them every weapon we can make as fast as possible. I feel like if Putin kicks the bucket and the Ukraine is still around enough to be called the Ukraine, well, Zelensky has controlled the media, defeated the Russian Empire, and now has a throne. A newly minted throne. That is a dictator I can follow, I can support. I can admire, much like George Santos. At first you might think, well, the outcome isn't what you want to have happen. I say, so what? What are you going to do about it? Are you going to stop it? No. So if you're going to lose, don't you want to feel like you lost? Don't you want to feel like you lost, not they won? You know what I mean? Don't you want to feel like it fell on you? You don't want to think it was chance and it just happened to roll the other way. If you are going to exist completely under the thumb of organized crime, i.e. a government, you want to feel like there at least wasn't anything you could do. You don't want to think, man, if I was just a made guy, if I was on that side, all I would have to do is literally not be a dead person or be able to think. It's not good. And apart from it being insulting, if enough people start to think, wow, the government is actually made up of people dumber than average, well, then that's a recipe for more insurrections, dummy. What do you think would happen if more and more and more people start to think, hey, the president is literally dumber than the average person, as is the FBI or any type of authority from the government? They are probably dumber than me. I am legitimately probably smarter than this person, including the president. If a lot of people think that, things can get dicey. Which is why I love George Santos, because he's doing something I know I can't do. There is no way I could construct a story, a biography, true or not, as enthralling as his tale, as the stories that have led up to him becoming a congressman from the great state of New York. From honestly working his way up from being a woman in Brazil to a male congressman who used to be gay in New York. That is incredible. That's a story I could not have even thought of. That's someone I can respect. That is a player of the game. You know what I mean? The game is not playing him. George Santos is playing the game. And when we see the FBI do whatever bullshit Biden, or Trump for that matter, has asked them to do, and they just do it in the dumbest way possible, it gets sad, it gets disheartening, because you're like, man, I can't overthrow this thing. But if I'm going to be subjugated, at least make me feel like there's nothing I could do. Don't make me feel like I have a chance, not only because it's insulting, but because if too many people think, hey, I could do that too, that is a recipe for more insurrections, for more coups, for more just general uncertainty and unrest. But luckily, we have a crack squad of geniuses like the FBI who we can send in there before the problem happens, infiltrate, do some reconnaissance, and basically make sure that the problem continues to happen again and again and again.